Hey everybody, Coldar here. Today we are looking at Challenge Mode Gold Guide for Gate of the Setting Sun. So again, this is 75% playback speed, just to give a little bit extra time to go over everything. So this zone is actually pretty challenging to do the gold run on. The main thing is that you have to do a lot of pulls that are quite dangerous. So this first haul, because it's the first haul especially, you really can't afford to delay and make small pulls. So best bet is to pull everything at once right at the end. This means that there's a lot of mobs and a lot of bombs going out. There's the smoke on the ground, which of course is a line of sight risk, and overall it's a very tough pull. You have to be very diligent about dodging bombs, doing massive AE damage, and then remaining within line of sight of your healer and of course the mobs. So the way we do this, as you can see, is pull down to the end and then basically have the entire group stay in the smoke. This way the tank and the healer are never out of line of sight of each other, and likewise the healer can heal other players as well. It further allows DPS, AE DPS to hit the mobs that will cling to players' backs during this pull, so that you're basically maximizing damage. Otherwise, use all your DPS cooldowns, with the exception of Bloodlust, on that pull. So use potions and all that good stuff. You really want to get it down quickly, and survival is key. So again, use all your survival cooldowns as needed. You don't really need them for this boss. Now, I probably should have let us kill those mobs in that last pull, so we drop to combat, and then we're allowed to have our potion cooldown start ticking down. But instead, there's some of the guys that throw bombs from that last pull that kind of lag behind because they don't really bunch up with you. So they'll probably be alive, one or two of them, if you're fast, since they're not going to be in the bunch. So if that's the case, just AE them down with the boss, and you can finish them off there. So this guy is pretty simple, just like he is on Heroic. Just watch the bomb locations. If you get the sabotage, try not to line yourself up with bombs, just like the Bomberman game. And the only real tip here is if someone gets sabotaged just as the fight is ending, they should not run out of the door immediately, because they will explode, and people that are following behind them will probably run right through a fire trail and just get obliterated. So I think in this pull, in fact, I get sabotaged right near the end, so I have to stay off to the side a little bit extra. But yeah, he's pretty simple. Yeah, there it is. There's sabotaging me. So normally I would start running down the hallway right away, but instead I have to stay to the side here so that I don't do a flame trail right in the middle. And this zone is quite spread out, so a lot of this is about fast movement just between pulls. So you're going to immediately get these four guys. So again, stack up on them and AE them down. They're not really that dangerous. Your tank may spike a little bit, but again, just stack in the smoke and be ready to interrupt the wind shapers. This is a general rule throughout this zone. But if they are allowed to channel the Gale ability, it's going to be a huge amount of damage on your group. But there's only one in this pack, obviously, so it's pretty easy. If you have any movement increasing abilities, group sprints, hunter, that kind of thing, now is a great time to use them. You can let dots finish off the mobs that are low and sprint across here. For this gate, obviously with the bug smashing it, if you're unaware, you can jump just in time of his smash and avoid being stunned. I sort of got lucky there just with the timing, so I didn't get stunned there. This pull is one of the more dangerous ones in the zone. Basically, Ravagers are crazy when they get those enrage stacks. Now you can dispel the enrage, but unless In our case, that Dispel is the healer, so she has plenty to worry about besides that. But if you have a Dispel in another form, then that's a great way to do it. So Wind Shapers, there's 2 in this pool. Make sure you have interrupts assigned to get rid of their Gale attack if they channel. So you can see we skull one of them for our Rep Paladin to interrupt, and then I get the other one. And I generally use my DPS, or excuse me, my mitigation cooldowns for this pull as a tank, because you'll have enough time coming up before you have to use them again. So this is probably the only tricky part here, and not really difficult to do, just in terms of actual trick to the fight. Again, challenge modes are all about efficiency and killing only what you need to. So in this particular trio, you want to kill the Wind Shaper and CC the other 2 guys, the 2 Ragers. And this is to give you exactly the number of enemies you need for this zone. This is the most efficient way to do it. So once that Wind Shaper's down, with the guys CC'd in the back or just snared, just run onto the elevator and leave them behind. And they will evade down there and disengage from you. And that's exactly what you want. Now be careful stepping off this elevator too early. One time I tried to jump over the ledge there just as it was coming up, and I fell through the elevator, and we lost a bunch of time. So just wait till just as it's at the top, and then you can engage the boss. Now this guy, obviously, is kind of annoying, especially if you have a lot of melee DPS. So unless your DPS is really high, you won't be able to really gain much time on him. Obviously, the idea is to finish him in as few, of his flight phases as possible. But he's generally going to get 2 of them off, it seems. Even if you kill him, he has 1 hit point while he's doing a flight phase. He won't die until he finishes the complete phase, which is quite frustrating. So you can sort of keep position kind of near one of the corners so that you always can move to the left or the right a few steps to avoid his fire. So we're sort of staying by this corner where my ox statue is there. And then once the fire dissipates, we can just step to the other axis and avoid it there. You can see our Shadow Priest is doing his best to run and dot up the boss. The Pray Time ability is quite deadly on challenge mode, so make sure your healer is just quick to recognize who's being targeted and throw them some quick heals. And with 1 or 2 emergency heals, they won't die from that damage. And you can heal up the rest of the damage over time. You may notice the frame rate is choppy here. A lot of our group members were having this issue. Something about the spell effects kind of off to the west, that direction that I'm looking there in that tree area, were causing major graphical lag. So you may see it when you actually are at the zone in of the zone. If you look to the right when you're just at the entrance, if you have any sort of frame rate issue there, that's the cause. And a few people reported that they could drop their view distance, and it helped. It didn't work for me, but I tried it. Anyway, so Striker, is that his name? Oh, Stalker. Whatever. I can't even see his name. He's easy. That's the point. Once he's about to die or dies, make sure you have one person, the fastest movement player that has the most movement cooldowns, go down the elevator and immediately run to hit the gong, the bell thing. Meanwhile, I'll have 1 or 2 people fire the cannons, so I'm doing the cannons here. And our druid is running through the fire gauntlet area. And I don't have it installed. I think there might be an add-on these days to skip cinematics, which is probably a good idea for this zone, just so you don't have to manually skip this next cinematic. But otherwise, just slam your keys like crazy and hit escape. So this pull can be pretty difficult. There's obviously 1 Wind Shaper and 2 Ragers in each trio, and there's 2 trios. So if you pull all 6 at once, tank damage is going to be insane once the Ragers get some enraged stacks. You need to be very careful if you do that. I sort of split the difference here, so allowed ourselves to get some damage on this first set. Once the Wind Shaper is down, then pull the next set. And you can see that as the Ragers get more damaged, they get bigger and their enraged stacks get higher. So you can see I'm going to spike really, really high here. Or low, I should say. So save your big cooldowns for when you have the majority of the pack. Stuns are really helpful, and if worse comes to worse, just kite them. So, you know, you can snare them, they're really slow, and then just run away for a little bit. Once this pull is under control, go ahead and engage the boss. You don't really have time to wait to drop combat. So this boss can be a little annoying for melee DPS, as is always the case in this expansion and last, blah, blah, blah. I don't know why they do it this way, but yeah. I mean, you have to watch for the cleave attack in the front. You have to dodge these pools. Meanwhile, your range can just stand there and nuke the whole time. It's frustrating. Anyway, just kite him sort of with minimal movement as much as possible so that your ranged DPS players and your healer really don't have to move ever. Your tank will have to pick up all the ad sets, of course, but again, this is, like so many cases, really a waste to AE damage. Let your tank do most of the AE, and your DPS should be single targeting the boss, since that's the trigger to end the fight, obviously. And you can use cooldowns for this guy. You probably don't want to use major DPS cooldowns, but you could use a potion if you want. And that's actually a good tip for this entire zone. One thing that helped us a lot was just, since you don't use an invisibility potion ever, because you need to kill most of the mobs for the enemy credit, then just use a DPS potion every chance you get. Doesn't matter if it's a boss or a trash pack, anything you have, that will speed up your time greatly. We even started to announce to other group members when we used a potion, just to remind them, so that others would be like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that too. Anyway, when he's about to die, pull him up to the hall. Again, you just want to be moving as quickly as possible after that boss. And then as you cross into this previous section where you killed the one Wind Shaper and CC'd those two guys, again, just CC them or stun them as you run past, and they will once again evade, and you don't have to worry about them. You'll have exactly the number of enemies you need. And then drop down onto that little wood plank, and then down below here. And then make sure you have 2 DPS ready that are going to go up top. These should be your highest burst DPS dot classes that go up first. So our mage and our shadow priest went up first, and they're going to blow all their cooldowns on the exposed area there. And then the second DPS, or the third DPS, in this case our rep paladin, will be near one of the launchers just as they're about to come down. So I'm moving this pack over near this launcher for our rep paladin, and he's going to go up there as soon as he can. By rotating all 3 of your DPS up there, you get all of them to be able to use all their DPS cooldowns back to back. So this will help you speed up killing the weak spot as fast as possible. These little protectorate guys, they can be quite deadly if you're not careful. Once they get low health, I think it's around 40 or 50%, they'll gain this haste buff that's like that purple arrow above them. And basically it's amplified by every other enemy or protectorate that's around them. So when you have the entire pack there, they will just obliterate and one-shot your tank if the tank doesn't have a major cooldown or isn't careful. So generally I aid them down to about 50%, and then I start kiting them and just keep kiting them around until the other DPS can finish them off. So once the weak spot is dead, it should take you only hopefully 2 to 3 rounds of launches. Obviously, the faster the better. Then just move on to the body. And you probably need to kite for fixate unless it's on your tank. But again, try to just burn him as much as possible when he's going into this animation phase. There we go. So he's just kind of figuring out who he's going to chase, and there it's on our mage. And we actually did use Bloodlust, but for some reason we were not in range, or I don't know what happened. But our mage got Lust, but no one else did. So just be careful of that. But generally speaking, if you lose Lust on the first boss, like we did, it should be up again for this boss. And if it's not quite up in time, then you're fine, because it means you're even faster. So, yeah, that's pretty much the entire zone, though. It's short and sweet, but like I said, there are 2 or 3 pulls that are very damaging and deadly. That first one is going to take a lot of practice, kind of a bitch. And the 4 Rager pull to win guys is also challenging. All right, so that's Gate of the Setting Sun Gold. Good luck, and thanks for watching.